Perfect. Can we call this meeting to order at 7:01? Adoption of the agenda.
I would like to make one small amendment to the agenda. The emerging trends in municipal law has moved to online only, so I'm still registered for that, but it says I'll be attending in person, but I'm attending online instead.
Any other updates or changes? No. Can I get someone to adopt the agenda? Rod? All in favor? Passed. And we'll go to the minutes. They look okay.
I would like to make a motion to accept January 10th minutes as presented.
Councillor Zimmer, all in favor? Passed. And we have a delegation today from the Calgary Region Airshed Zone. We've got Jill Bloor and Tanya Carlson. Welcome.
I want to introduce, I'm Jill Bloor, Executive Director for Calgary Region Airshed Zone, and this is Tanya Carlson. She's our Engagement Program Manager. And so I again want to thank you for accommodating the shift today to virtual. You have the presentation in front of you. Corinne, are you going to advance it?
Yes, we have it up on the screen and we'll be showing it as you guys go through it.
Okay, so if we want to start on the second slide. So the Calgary Region Airshed Zone was formed in 2005 and received society status in 2007. We are a group or a collective of multi-stakeholders, so governments, industries, municipalities, public, and NGOs. And we all work towards maintaining and improving the air quality in the region. Our region goes all the way down to Granham in Willow Creek, over to Vulcan County, Wheatland County, up to Rocky View, MD of Bighorn, and out to the Alberta-BC border. We are one of 10 airsheds in the province, and we have about 1.5 million people within our region, of which, of course, the City of Calgary is our largest, but not our most important municipality. Every municipality is as important as the others. The next slide. So as I said, CRAS is made up of a cross-section of 3 sectors: government, industry, and public NGO. And everyone has a single vote. But we do deal with consensus the majority of the time. Next slide. So our biggest thing that we do is we undertake air quality monitoring. Now, you can't manage or can't understand what's in the air if you don't monitor it and find out what actually is up there and what we're breathing in. And so that's what CRAS does, is we do a lot of monitoring. One of the programs, next slide, one of the biggest programs that we're excited about and our newest is our Purple Air Project. This is a collaboration with Environment and Climate Change Canada. And we are putting purple air monitors, I believe ABE has one, out in our region, and they monitor PM 2.5. And the levels of pollution can change, and we like these because they give us real-time data, and we can monitor the air quality in areas that have never been monitored before, such as Claresholm. Next slide. So as I said, these monitors, these devices monitor PM 2.5, which is very small. It's smaller than a human hair, and it gets right into our pillars of our lungs. There really is no safe exposure level, but if you're healthy, you can usually accommodate a little bit of exposure. When you're really young or really old or have respiratory issues, that's when you start to have compromised effects from PM 2.5 exposure. We saw a lot of that with the wildfire smoke that we experienced in the past few years. The next slide. In addition to these sensors, we do continuous monitoring, and we have 3 stations in Calgary, and that's the first picture. So they're continuous stations. And then there's a 4th in Airdrie that's operated by Alberta Environment. We also have a portable unit, and it's been on a 4-year project throughout the region in 4 different communities. It will be finishing up the 4th sighting at the end of November, and we will have a year's worth of data from each of those 4 communities. Following that, the technical committee will look at all of the data and come up with recommendations for our board. What they are, I don't know, because we're not finished monitoring yet. All of our data is available on our website, cras.ca/monitoring, and you can pick and choose the compounds that you want to see. The next slide is about human risk. So the exposure to PM 2.5 and ozone is aggravated if you have conditions like asthma, lung inflammation. It also is exposure, it increases the absentees in work and school, and reduces our ability to do physical activity. Next slide. I'm going over these briefly because 1, I know we have a limited time, and 2, I know that you can review them at any time on your own after. So the Air Quality Health Index is a number of 1 to 10 or 10 plus, and it's a formula created from the data that we provide into Alberta Environment and Environment Canada from those 3 stations that we operate. The beauty too is that our monitoring truck, the portable unit, also generates an AQHI. There's an app you can download on your phone, and you can get an AQHI for anywhere that there's monitoring. So currently it's in Aldersyde between Okotoks and High River, and it is producing AQHI for that area. Next slide. So this one outlines some of the key health and economic impacts of air pollution in the region. Health Canada did a report, and we took the 4 census areas that encompass our region and pulled out some of the data. I find this data really, I'm going to use the word fascinating, but alarming at the same time. And I think it's a really important piece of information that CRAS uses in some of our social media. It really shows us the impact of air pollution on our health. And so we really try to get the word out about the AQHI and the impact of air quality, and that's through some of our programs that we give to the community, and I'm going to turn it over to Tanya to go over some of those for you.
Thanks, Jill. I just want to say that Purple Air Project, and this is what I've been discussing with Abe, and this is what's coming to council today, was to install the Purple Air Monitor in Claresholm, and specifically maybe at a town building is what we're looking at. We've put them up in schools before, and we've had them up at industries, and we have some up in town offices around our region. Town offices seem to be more secure, and they also seem to have better Wi-Fi than some of the schools. So, but what we can offer the community is really important. So our commitment to community is to share knowledge through tours and school programs and workshops. So we can come out into your community and offer the school programs that we have. We can teach the children to look up the Purple Air data that's coming real time, and then they can compare that data with around the world or the next town over. So it's a really neat piece of data that the kids can play with. And to have it in their own town is so important. Our other commitment to community is our toolkits that we have. We've just been developing and just finalized a municipal toolkit for air quality. So what that toolkit does is it helps municipalities develop their own local air quality management plans. It gives examples of other municipalities' policies, bylaws, and activities, and it illustrates known and potential social, economic, and ecological benefits of air quality management. So that toolkit is going to be available for our members within the next month or so. So that is one of our commitments to our communities and to our members. We do workshops. How we develop our workshops is from our members and from our communities that say, hey, what can you do for agriculture? So what we could do is we offered a workshop on dust suppression, and we held it in Okotoks or High River? High River. No, Vulcan, that one was.
Okay.
So, and it was MD of Willow Creek that did ask for that workshop, so that's how we kind of develop our workshops. We have one building healthy communities together, transportation, and the last one was on smoke. We have put a little pin in workshops for the last year or two. You probably know why. Hard to get everybody in the room. We have a commitment to learning, to teach about air quality monitoring. We engage with schools. We have videos. We have lesson plans for schools. We have clean air days that we do to support. Our commitment to members, we work hard to empower through initiatives and collaborative learning to industries, general public, and to our municipalities. We do idle-free programs. So as you see in these pictures, Lethbridge became an idle-free program for us. Wheatland County provided an idle-free program. So we gave all those idle-free signs for all of their buildings in Wheatland County. Well, we paid portion of the signs and they paid the other portion. We helped them develop an idle-free program. They did a carpooling survey to how employees were getting to work, if they could car share, and we helped and assisted with that with them. We love to work with our members. We helped develop their quality portion in the South Saskatchewan Regional Plan. We work with the Calgary Metropolitan Regional Board, the City of Calgary Environmental Strategy, and right now with our members, we are working on an updated simplified guide to wildfire smoke resource. So it'll be all your resources, all your templates of what to do for employers and employees during a smoke event, what schools should be doing, what daycare should be doing, and why it is so important to have these procedures in place, and also talk a lot about clean air shelters. So the CRAS committees we have are engagement, air quality management, who have developed an air quality management plan for the region, and it just helps us not reach the air quality triggers. So we do little things today so we don't trigger an air quality event. A technical committee, a finance committee, and we just have a smoke ad hoc committee going right now working on that smoke wildfire guide, which hopefully will be ready for wildfire season in March. And that's another thing for our membership. So the last slide that I'll be talking about is the benefits of being a member. And I won't go through them all with you. Collaboration and consensus, networking communities, environment, social governance, education outreach, and we're a trusted partner. So we really work, as Jill mentioned, with our board. We all come together on our committees. There's members of municipalities, government, industry, the public, and NGOs, all working together on the same goal for air quality.
Okay. So on slide 19 is our request to you. And we're hoping that you'll consider two requests. One is to install the Purple Air Monitor and have it active on a, as Tanya said, a town building of your choosing. And also that you would consider membership in CRAS. It is a funding formula that was developed by our municipalities, and that's based at 10 cents per capita. So membership for this year for the town of Claresholm would be $378. And we feel that it's very good money for the value of what you get and the involvement that you have in the organization. On that, I'm going to, the next slide is just how you can contact us. We're on social media, we have our website, but I'm going to open it now to questions or comments from council. And I just want to say thank you very much for listening to us.
And thank you, Jill. Any questions? Counselor.
What kind of community engagement with the schools? Like, do you have a number per year or once a year, twice a year?
Well, go ahead, Tanya.
Sorry, we'll work closely with your school, so we can come out once or twice a year, whatever they prefer. We try to focus around the grade 5 curriculum. We're under the weather part of it. Air quality has been specifically really honed into the curriculum, which is funny when we talk about climate, and we do consider that in our air quality portion as well. We also have a ton of free resources, so we will give the idle free signs to schools. We have bookmarks and videos and fun coloring pages and stuff like that. But what's neat about the Purple Air is also the engagement the kids can do themselves just by viewing their Purple Air data in Claresholm and then viewing it in Calgary or in China or around the world. It's really neat. We'll also do free presentations to industries. We'll do free presentations to anybody. We're not picky. It's not just school. Yeah.
We just want to get the word out there about being more aware of the air quality and what every one of us can do to ensure that we continue to have good air quality in this region.
Just a thought on placement of these purple air monitors. Are they best, in this country on the east side of a community, or, does placement really matter? We have a major highway coming down through the middle, so if it was on the west side, I don't think we'd pick that up.
Placement in that sense isn't, but our air quality program manager can definitely work with Abe or whomever to figure out a spot that is the best. Just when it is chosen for a building, it tends to go on the north side of the building, about 3 feet off the ground. And then again, we have to have, it's outside, it has to have Wi-Fi connection and power. So it does have a certain area, but definitely we would get deep involved in saying, well, is it a building on the west side or the east side, or where in town? Definitely he would be willing to consult. He would even come out and look at the buildings and help put it up and connect it to the Wi-Fi.
Perfect. Any other questions? All right, well, we'd like to thank you, Jill and Tanya. Great information, and we always put it back on the agenda for next council.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You have a great day.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
All right, moving on. Bylaw 1736, land use amendment. Abe.
So last year, we had a road closure bylaw, and the purpose of that was on someone's property, a piece of their property was designated as an alley or road in the town's plans, and this resident is looking to consolidate that property, and so we passed first reading of the road closure bylaw. This piece of land, once it gets consolidated, is going to need to be rezoned to residential. A single detached residential, and so this bylaw is on the agenda tonight for first reading as an amendment to the land use bylaw.
Perfect. Any questions? We've been sitting on this for a while, so
I'll make a motion to give first reading to bylaw 1736.
Councillor Schlossberger. All in favor? Passed. Number 3, correspondence from the Honourable Rick McIver.
Yeah.
Did you miss one?
Did I miss one?
We did.
Greater Metro. Look at me. A delegation response to the Greater Metro Hockey League. Sorry about that.
All good. So council had a delegation last week from the Greater Metro Hockey League, and that delegation was able to provide a lot of information, looking to establish a Junior A hockey team in Claresholm. Currently, there are no Junior A teams down in the region, but they're looking to expand to maybe 3 teams down here. In the province, there's maybe 4 teams up northeast of Edmonton, perhaps. But we've provided a few of the highlights here, Council, of the, or important pieces of information from that delegation. Just to recap, and also a bit of a background of the town's history with hosting junior hockey teams not that long ago. The Le Mans Lakers were situated here for a little bit. Bit of information there for you. But just looking for direction on the follow-up from that delegation, if council's interested in pursuing that further, if council has questions that they'd like us to follow up on, et cetera.
All right, Councillor Kettles.
They were going to provide, sorry, they were going to provide some information or a letter or something from one of their franchises. Has that happened yet?
It has not, but we can reach out to them to collect that information.
Okay, and do we think we need some feedback from some of our other major user groups? I'm not sure, but just asking the question.
I was not available for last meeting, but I did watch the meeting on the YouTube channel, and I've done some research on this bill. I really think that if we don't investigate this properly, I think we might be missing out on something, so I would like to recommend that we make a ad hoc committee to further discussions with both the ice users committees and other local stakeholders that might be involved to get a little bit more detail, but actually get a little bit more of a professional feel to it to follow through with the request. And I would be okay with being a part of that group.
Absolutely. It definitely solved a few questions and raised a few questions with their last presentation. I feel a whole lot more comfortable than I did a month ago, but yeah, it would be nice to follow up with, sorry, what was this gentleman's name again? Derek. See if we can't get a couple of letters back from other communities involved and set up an ad hoc committee to further investigate it.
I'd be certainly willing to support that and serve on that as well.
Perfect. Can we set that up tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I recommend we set up Councillor Cutler and Councillor Kettles as the ad hoc committee to look further into the junior A team.
Perfect. So we'll do that as a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Councillor Schlossberger. Question?
So moved by Councillor Schlossberger to form an ad hoc committee to research the possibility of bringing a Greater Metro Hockey League expansion team to Claresholm, starting in the 2022-2023 season, and to have Councillors Cutler and Kettles as committee members, who will bring back terms of reference to council for approval.
Perfect. All in favor? Passed. Moving on, now we'll go to correspondence for number 3, Honorable Rick McIver.
So at the AUMA/Alberta Municipalities Convention, council met with Minister McIver regarding the code of conduct policy, the requirement for councils to have a code of conduct policy, and concerns over easing that requirement. This is a follow-up to that conversation. Essentially, at that meeting, the minister assured council that they were not going to pursue easing restrictions at that time, that they had heard enough feedback from Albertans that it didn't seem like a matter that they were going to pursue. So this is a follow-up to that conversation. And I think the letter also says they'll be engaging the public in the spring on councillor accountability. So more information coming, I guess.
Sounds good. Just take it for information. Number 4, correspondence from the Honorable Nate Horner, Minister of Agriculture. Abe.
Yeah, this is a congratulations to council for the election that happened back in October, as well as just some information on Alberta's recovery plan and rural economic development, what the ministry is doing, agriculture, forestry, and rural economic development, some of the strategies they have in place to spur economic development in rural economies. And so there's some strategies for $1.4 billion in investment in the next 4 years to create 2,000 jobs in the agricultural sector. A few other items of information there.
Perfect. Any questions on that? Just take it for information. Excellent. And then, number 5, correspondence from Joe Cece, Opposition Party Municipal Affairs Critic. We've got an invitation.
Yes, engagement session regarding ahead of the budget. And so Critic of Municipal Affairs and Finance Critic Shannon Phillips will be having a Zoom roundtable discussion ahead of Budget 2022. February 7th at 2 p.m. And they talk a little bit about the improving provincial economic forecast and how they have a desire to make sure that the government manages that properly, I guess. And so if you're looking for a ability to attend, you can RSVP through the number that's on there. If anybody on council is interested, we can take care of that for you.
I'd like to sit on that, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Correspondence from Mayor Blair Painter, Municipality of Crow's Nest Pass. Abe.
Yeah. So there was some correspondence circulated last council agenda, no, probably December's, I think, from the city of Cold Lake, and it was about concerns about the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta, streamlining assessment processes and allowing them to do their own assessments in-house. They felt they had the capabilities there to do that, and so they requested to do that. This is a letter of support from the Crow's Nest Pass, supporting that, and I believe there was in this one or the next one is for the nurses. They're kind of trying to draw attention that they have challenges in that regard as well.
Absolutely. We'll move on to that one. Take them both for information. Fast tracking for immigrant nursing certificates in Alberta. Number 7.
Yep.
And correspondence on...
Can I say something, sir?
You sure can. Sorry, sir.
Were they not looking for a letter of support?
I think this was the letter of support, and they just passed it on to us, but maybe I read that wrong.
I think they're looking for a letter of support for fast-tracking immigrant nurses. And
We can definitely,
I would support writing letters of support for both
for both.
letters as a council.
Absolutely. Would you like to make that a motion,
I
Councillor
would
Cutler?
love to make that motion.
it's two different motions, right?
So do you want that to the Minister of Health, municipalities, and the RMA,
All three there, yeah.
all three? Anything you want to add?
Nope, just a letter of support for what they're doing.
Perfect.
Do we need to ask Abe to create this letter and run it past us for, what would the process of this be? I guess I don't know.
Just a letter of we just usually write up a letter of support on the behalf of council and send it off.
Okay.
So the first motion would be moved by Councillor Cutler to write a letter of support towards streamlining foreign physician assessments in spirit of supporting the municipality of the Crow's Nest Pass in their efforts.
All in favor? Passed. And for our nurses,
Moved by Councillor Cutler to write a letter of support towards the possibility of fast-tracking immigrant nurses for certification in Alberta in spirit of supporting the efforts of the municipality of the Crow's Nest Pass.
and all in favor? Passed. Okay, moving on to Mayor Deborah Dueck, Town of Tofield, Adolescent Vaccine Program, Abe.
Concern expressed here from the town of Tofield regarding the rollout of vaccines for youth, and feeling that they should have been more available in the rural areas. Looks like there's not been a lot of availability, and there's concern from the members in their community. They've had to travel distances to get those, and so they're requesting to have more availability and to consider, the words is, please do not continue to ignore rural Alberta in the letter. So this has been sent to Honorable Jason Kenney and several others.
All right, and with that, anybody been to Tofield lately? Do we know what kind of infrastructure they have down there? We can write a letter of support if you'd like, Councillor Cutler.
I would love to support it. Nope, again, it speaks to rural communities, it speaks to availability and accessibility for our children, and I agree with the letter they wrote, and I would proudly support a letter of support for their advocacy.
You're making Corinne type.
That's why I'm her favorite.
It's been a while since I've been through Tofield.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know where it is.
Southeast of Edmonton.
It's a ways.
Okay, moved by Councillor Cutler to write a letter of support towards the town of Tofield's efforts towards better vaccine support for adolescents in rural communities in Alberta.
All in favor? Passed. Moving on to number 9, request for decision, Texas 4000 for cancer request. Abe.
So this group has been coming through Claresholm for quite some time. A bike ride from Texas to Alaska and raising money for support of cancer. They missed the last couple of years. They first came to Claresholm in 2009, and the town has hosted them in the past, whether through billeting or through, most recently, I believe it was the campground. And so they're looking to pass through again. So if council's interested, they're back on track, and after a 2-year hiccup in COVID, and they'll be coming through town again this year, July 14th, and looking for approval to allow the group to stay at the Centennial Campground free of charge on that evening.
Perfect. I know we've been supporting them for quite a while at the restaurant as well. Awesome group of kids that always come through. One thing that I would also like to have added in this is if we could make the library available for them, depending on weather as well. Because I know we've had a few wet years, and when you've got kids that are surviving on oatmeal and peanut butter in a wet tent, it's always nice to be able to give them a dry place to sleep, so. Anyone like to move that?
I was also going to add to it that, as well as supporting it as well, if they are staying at the campground, and they do put a lot of miles on there, I think we could probably afford for the 20 or whatever, some riders in the group to have clean showers, so they got a fresh start the next day as well.
Yeah. I believe they always open up the showers for them.
Do they?
So. They're always very appreciative. Question?
I'll make that motion.
Councillor Meister.
Moved by Councillor Meister to allow the Texas 4000 for Cancer Rockies Group to stay in Centennial Park Campground for one night on July 14, 2022, for free of charge to support their cause of raising funds and awareness for cancer research, to have the Claresholm Library as a backup dependent on weather, and for administration to facilitate their stay.
All in favor? Passed. Request for decision, community donation and operating grant policy. Abe.
During budget discussions, council was asked administration to bring back some kind of process for requesting and reporting of operational grants. Groups in the community that get significant operational funding every year, or looking to get operational funding every year, and a process whereby they would apply for that and report to council how monies will be spent and how previous monies were spent if they're returning applicants. And so we brought this policy to council last month, and it was well, not organized as well as it is now, I think. And so what we've done is we've just created the operational grant. It was grouped in with the other processes. And what we've done is we've separated it into its own category now. And so I think it's a little easier to follow. We have 2 application processes there. The specific one we're adding is the operational grant policy, as I explained. I'll just briefly kind of review the points under that process for an operational grant. All requests for operational grant shall be directed in writing to the CAO and must include itemized budget detailing how the grant will be utilized and prior year's financial statements. Returning applicants will be expected to report on how they spent the previous year's monies. And to align with the budgeting process, we're asking applicants to have the requests in no later than February. Again, the town will only provide operational grant funding to organizations, groups, or societies in the community, provided that group has included a voting position on the board for a council-appointed member. And if that group doesn't have one, we'll have to create space for that through their bylaws or some kind of motion for a voting council member.
Sounds good. I know I read through it a couple of times to try and make sense. I believe I understand now. Any discussion on this? Councillor Schlossberger.
Which groups are under the operational grant?
So be the library, would be CARES, would be Rod's group.
Learn a lot, please.
Thank you. Learn a lot.
Curling Club?
And we do give a grant to the golf course as well. I believe they would be on that, but I would have to verify with Blair. And you guys might be able to help me out here too.
The Curling Club?
Curling Club, no, Transportation Society.
Senior Center?
So we don't give those groups any, those are not operational grants. We have lease agreements with them, but we don't do operational grants with them. But
Right.
Transportation
Fair
Society.
enough. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
My bad.
Communities Hall.
Thank you.
I think the museum as well. No?
No?
Cool.
Just a question on, I've sat on the community center board for 6 years. For us to fill out this application accurately will be difficult, because we don't know what we're going to have to spend the money on.
But you'll know next time when you apply what you spent the money on.
Yeah, after the fact.
Well,
That's a start.
And I think that's where the accountability is coming in. Like, we're not looking at saying, okay, if you're gonna ask to put in new chairs, then you have to spend that. If we're giving you $20,000, we're just asking for a report back of where that $20,000 went when you go to ask for money the next year. That's my understanding of it.
Pay for the lights and heat.
If that's
Okay?
what it
And if
is,
that's what it is, that's what it is.
And I think you can include that information, and if you can provide some kind of budget
Right.
of your yearly expenditures, I think that would basically satisfy. It's an operational grant. But if it is too cumbersome, if it does seem a little cumbersome, we can definitely tweak it a little bit,
Well, I
the
think,
application process.
I think it would be worth doing a first reading, and before we do second and third, to ship a copy of the proposed bylaw to the groups for feedback.
Yeah, it's up to council. This is just a policy, though, just needs a motion for approval. So essentially, administratively, if you approve this, we would connect with these groups and we would explain to the groups, what's expected going forward according to the policy. And we definitely would work with the groups, and we would encourage them to share any concerns about this process with council. This, at the end of the day, council, is your process, right? So it needs to work for you, and it needs to work for the groups. And if again, it's a policy, if we push this through, or rather, if council approves this, I'm not pushing anything. If council approves this, and it does seem too cumbersome, if it creates a bit of controversy with your groups, then we just change it.
And I think it's a learning process with the groups as well.
Yeah.
The information is not that difficult to pull out of a budget. And in the end, I think it does create a little bit of accountability and understanding of where they're going to spend their dollars as well. Councillor Kettles.
I with the golf course, I gave them some information that something of this process would be coming. And I think honestly, they look at it as an opportunity to better explain what they do and when they do it, and, you know, the value that they bring to the community. So I would hope that all of our groups would be able to maybe take it in that vein. This is not a judgment. This is just information that exchanged between council and the groups that I think is good for both sides.
Any other comments? Would somebody like to move?
I'll make a motion to adopt policy 5.1.01.
Councillor Zimmer, question.
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to adopt policy 5.1.01, the Community Donation and Operational Grant Policy version 2.0, effective January 24th, 2022.
All in favor? Against? Passed. Request for decision, ice resurfacer, arena advertising. Abe.
So we did get a new ice resurfacer, and just find it here. So with that comes the opportunity to have new forms of advertising. What we did in the past was we did a wrap around the ice resurfacer, and whoever sponsored, the idea was whoever sponsored the propane costs for the ice resurfacer, we would throw a wrap on there. Usually a 2-year agreement. Historically, it was around $800 a year. We've got a new ice resurfacer now, and we no longer have to go to a wrap. We can change out the advertisements every year because there's slots on the ice resurfacer. So we're looking at getting that, the sponsorship or advertising piece into our existing policy for advertising down at the arena. We are recommending, with the new ice resurfacer, we need approval from council for the fees for the remainder of the year. We also would like approval from council for the advertising fee moving forward after this, so half a year advertising this year. The Recreation Department did some comparisons and did some research on how much that would look like. If we were still to go with kind of cost recovery for propane, it would probably be about $2,000 a year. And so that's, we feel, not really going to work too high, especially compared to the other advertising spots in the arena. And so I've recommended $650 for the year for that advertising spot, with a returning advertising price, always offering discounts of $475. That's for one side of the resurfacer, and so essentially it's double that if you get both sides. Yeah, that's basically it. Questions, comments?
Councillor Cutler.
I took a read through this a couple times, and if it's kind of a cost recovery process, I actually like the $650 per side with no discount for $475 for returning. I mean, if it's a flat rate, if it's the best advertising in the rink with the Zamboni driving around it, everybody's looking at it. I feel that if it's a $2,000 propane cost and we're getting $1,300 back, or if they take both sides and they pay $1,200 a year, it's still paying 60% of our, or 70% of our propane cost. I don't feel that the $475 returning is necessary on this one.
Have we had issues this year with sponsoring cost recovery on the propane?
So,
We currently don't have a sponsor.
But in the past, we've always had a cost
Dodge has
recovery.
always done it.
Yeah.
But they had the wrap, so they were gone to first, and they always just took it.
Yeah.
They decided not to continue this year.
Okay.
So, I mean, but knowing of people want to advertise on the Zamboni, I don't think it'd be hard to get two sponsors for $650 or one person for $1,200.
And maybe we wouldn't need to do the discount for the returning, maybe we just give them right of first refusal or something.
Right.
I think
Yeah,
that's.
if they sponsor this year, then we ask them first next year.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy with that. Any other comments?
I think that sounds fair.
All right. So if we could get a motion with changes. Councillor Cutler.
Oh, can I say one more thing? It doesn't make sense for half a season to be 300 and a full season to be 650, because I'm just gonna buy 2 half a seasons. So can we amend the half a season to 325? I meant to say that earlier.
I'll take 2 halves.
Right, 2 half a seasons for 600.
Councillor Cutler, the math guy.
Nope.
Question, Corinne.
Moved by Councillor Cutler to approve policy 5.7.50, the arena advertising fee policy, version 1.1, as amended, effective January 24th, 2022.
All in favor? Passed. Number 12, request for decision, electric vehicle charging station.
Can I ask one more question? I thought they were looking for 2 parts for that one. Were you looking for the rest of this season? I didn't see any recommendations for the rest of the season.
The rest of the season was the half a season.
Was just a half a season?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I see the 21-22 was just half season left for 300.
Yeah.
I didn't read it like that. I thought you were, okay, we'll just leave it the way it is. Sure.
Good. All right, number 12, electric vehicle charging station. Abe.
The Municipal Climate and Action Change Center currently is offering cost recovery on electric vehicle charging stations, and up to 100% cost recovery if municipality, for interested municipalities. There's 2 levels. The fast charger, they're offering up to $150,000 rebate. That is charging in up to 30 minutes, and then there's a level 2 charger, up to $10,000 recovery for charging over several hours. The emails went out last week looking for expressions of interest on these projects to different communities if they're interested to submit a expression of interest. And so the Economic Development Officer has prepared this request. And at this point in time, you'd just be submitting an application saying we're interested in giving some details about that. Brady's thoughts are there might be a compelling argument for putting one in the downtown core to pull some traffic into the downtown core that normally might just kind of pass by. We do have a couple, there's some information there on the usage of those other 2, and 2 in town, yeah. So if council's interested, we'll submit an expression of interest and follow up on how that goes.
I'll make a motion to direct administration to submit a letter of interest.
Any other comments?
They haven't been used all that much, but the ones that we have, do we control the price of per hour, or is that set by someone?
That's set by JetBlue.
Okay, and I agree we should definitely send a letter of interest. I mean, if it's free, take 2 handfuls. But I think we need to be, as council, conscious if we have businesses that are going to be, getting into this market. We don't want to compete against them maybe necessarily unless, there's room for everybody. But no, I would fully agree with submitting the letter of interest.
Both Shell and Petrocan are installing charging stations.
And the dealerships as well have plans for expansion in that realm, so they'll have charging stations at some point as well. But moved by Councillor Schlossberger. Question?
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to direct administration to submit a letter of interest to the Municipal Climate Change Action Center Electric Vehicle Charging Program.
All in favor? Passed. Number 13, request for decision. The range cycling event request for the beer gardens. Abe.
So there will be a cycling event July 23rd in town, and council approved in November to have the staging start-finish line out at the campground, Centennial Park area. They're looking to have a beer tent at the end of their race, and in order to have that beer tent and be legal, they have to apply with a GLC. And because we own the land, that permit or that application requires council's approval. We talked with the recreation manager. She didn't have any concerns about that, thought it would be great. Their sponsor happens to be, I think, is going to be the one putting up the beer tent. Sponsor being Trouble Monk Brewery, I believe. So if council's in favor, we'd like a motion to approve that beer garden for the range event from the hours of 2 to 7 on July 23rd.
Perfect.
At Centennial Park.
Comments, questions?
Do we get to personally supervise the?
It's mandatory that we
They're very much
supervise.
looking for volunteers. You can, it even
We have
comes
to,
with.
we have to participate.
Yes. Mandatory participation.
Yes.
And if you're-
Should add that.
And if you're not a beer drinker like me, you can take the sticker that says volunteer security and help out. Can we get that moved?
I'd be happy to move that.
Councillor Kettles is moving for beer. Question, please.
Moved by Councillor Kettles to approve the range to set up a beer garden on July 23rd, 2022 at Centennial Park Campground from the hours of 2 to 7 p.m. as part of their cycling event, provided that all current health restrictions are followed and that they secure all necessary provincial permits.
All in favor? Passed. Financial report, statement of operations, November 30th. Abe.
I have a financial report for council's information for the November report. Any questions on anything on there, council? You see a few little footnotes there.
Yeah.
A few things still to come out.
I don't like note number 4.
I just lost.
You make things awkward.
I would like to make a motion to adopt the income statement for November 30th, 2021.
I back.
Question.
Moved by Councillor Zimmer to accept the consolidated statement of operations for the month ended November 30th, 2021 as presented.
All in favor? Passed. 15, seed exchange and garden project.
So the recreation manager is doing a seed exchange and just collecting any interested parties to do a exchange seeds. $5, it's just information, council. $5, we're asking for $5 for participants' contribution. And I believe in the past there was a garden group that actually, the garden club was the one that oversaw this. The seed exchange haven't been operational for a while, so the recreation manager is kind of taking the initiative to start this project again. Let me find the dates here. February 16th and March 2nd from 5 to 8 at the town office. And so there will be veggie seeds and flower seeds to be exchanged. Also, there's information about water barrel purchases if for any interested people. And the hope here is that there's enough interest from people that maybe spur on the garden club to, our new garden club to get going again. It's a good initiative in the community. And there, depending on the interest, there may be some, what's the word? Some information sessions around gardening, different gardening topics as well. So, again, just an information item for council. Any questions on that?
I know in the past, the rain barrel issue has come to light, being that there are businesses in town that sell those items. I don't know that the town needs to be involved with a rain barrel initiative as much as if we would like to offer that to a volunteer group that might use it as a fundraiser. But I don't think that's town's place. Councillor Cutler.
No, it has been an issue in the past when we talked about it in previous council too, about the idea. But it's been such an idea out there now that I don't see, like, it's not a new initiative. It's not something that's, I think the local establishments have had opportunities to put their rain barrels on sale or sell them to the community as a project. I don't see anything wrong with if they're connected with some kind of program of seed exchange,
Yeah.
and they have somebody who's willing to offer. I don't see a problem with that, in my opinion.
Might go through the newly formed garden club as an initiative to get them started.
Yep.
Councillor Kittles.
Would it be appropriate to ask the Barrel Man Inc. out of Calgary to make sure they have appropriate licensing to sell in town?
They would need a license, yes. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Do we need a motion on that?
Nope.
Just for information?
Yeah.
Moving on. AB Muni's analysis. Abe.
Yeah. So Alberta municipalities recently held a information session regarding the provincial government's interest in establishing an Alberta provincial police force. And they have included a report here with some of their concerns. They have analyzed the report that's recommending the provincial police force, and there are some items that they agree with in the report. There are also some concerns that they have out of the provincial report. And so Alberta Municipalities has three main principles that they would like to see if there was an Alberta Provincial Police Force. And the principles of police governance and oversight, police service levels, and policing costs. And in the report here, included in your agenda package, Alberta Municipalities has reviewed those three pillars and identified the gaps that they feel are currently existing in the province's plans for an Alberta police force. So again, that's just included for information.
For information. Any comments? Take it for information. All right, moving on. Information brief, Community Foundation of Lethbridge grant programs. Abe?
Last week, we received an email from the Community Foundation. I think most of us probably know about this group. They're very active in communities in southern Alberta, providing grants and funding to different organizations and groups. They are accepting applications in three different streams: Youth in Action Grant Program, Community Priorities Grants Program, and the Henry S. Varley Fund for Rural Life. There is information here for each of these grant streams. And we were just hoping to get this out there to you, Council, to share with your community groups. We talked last week about the Community Association. They received $500 from this group and from the Community Foundation. And so they're very active in communities, and information to be shared with your groups, that there are grants available. There's more information on the website or in this attachment as well about how to obtain those grants and who qualifies.
Perfect. Take that for information. Information brief, council committee reports. Some good information about what everybody's been doing. Any questions on that?
It is nice to read what everybody's doing, though. I really appreciated it.
Well, we appreciate you, Councillor Cutler. Any other comments, concerns, questions? Take it for information. CAO, let's try that again. CAO report 19. Abe.
Yeah, a few words from the CAO and some words from our different departments in this report. As you can see, people have been fairly busy. Bylaw enforcement report, busy in December with the sidewalk snow and ice removal notices. 85 of those went out. And some statistics there on all the other activity. Financial, the Corporate Services Department currently working on the audit, the 2021 year-end audit, financial statements. Development statistics for the year. Dwelling starts in 2021, pretty cool. 26, up significantly from last year where it was 15. I'm just throwing some interesting tidbits out there for you folks. Stop me and ask any questions if you like. Economic development, very busy with a lot of different initiatives. Continuing work on the rural northern immigration pilot. Starting with the, had a chamber meeting. The chamber had a SWOT analysis and a strategic planning session recently. So they're working through those processes right now. FCSS, doing some emergency management preparedness activities. Talking about Movember, total donation was $32.95. They spearheaded that. The fire department won that Movember thing. Expanding services in Grantham, looking to expand services in Grantham rather. A lot of different programming items that they're doing. Had a bingo recently. We're going to do the mom and tot or youth skate, but that was kind of borderline with COVID, unfortunately. With COVID restrictions, so that one's not going to work. But they're always working to try to find things to do within the guidelines and restrictions. Fire department, very busy year. As always, some good highlights about the fires they went to, some of the fundraising they did with the golf tournament and the calendar as well. They actually raised a lot of money there. More of the training that they're doing for their officers and some stats that are sideways. I'll try to get those flipped around next time so it's easier to read. HR tax report, some information on tax letters that have been sent out for those in tax arrears and those that are potentially coming up on the list. The list for auction. And infrastructure. Arena Ice Plant is operating well, operating within COVID-19 protocols. The monthly building inspections continue. The cemetery, 7 headstones knocked over in that windstorm. Surprised by that.
Most communities have vandalism, we have windstorms.
Yeah. It's Mother Nature vandalizing. And Recreation provided a pretty good year-end review there as well for your information. A lot of information about the programming that they've been doing the last year at the arena and at the pool. Anyways, I'll stop now. Sorry. You can tell me to stop too. That's all right. I won't be offended.
We quite enjoy
I,
listening.
you know, I'm just proud of everybody. They've had a great year and great month, and I just wanted to share a few pieces of information.
When it's all written out, there's a heck of a lot that goes on in this community that nobody sees, so it's great to have that summary. Are we just taking that for information?
Yeah.
All right. Information brief, resolution status. More things getting accomplished.
Yeah. Any questions on anything on there? That's our reporting mechanism from council meeting, just to see where we're at with the motions that you've made and direction that you've given us.
Absolutely, looks good. Take that for information. And adoption of information items. Questions, concerns? Who'd like to adopt the information items?
I can make that motion to adopt the information items.
Thank you, Councilor Meister.
Based on our Robert's rules, can't we just say they're here? We all went on the weekend, right?
Are we allowed to take them for information now?
Yeah, you can. There was a recommendation that it's not necessary, but we've got a practice of doing that. It's really up to you, but we can just keep on with that practice as it's comfortable. We're not in violation of anything.
I'm more than happy to just take them for information. And motion to go into camera. Councilor Cutler. All in favor? We will go into camera at 8:15. Please, camera off. Brad, go for... All right, motion to come out of camera at 8:44.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Schlossberger. All in favor? Approved. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Meister. We are adjourned at 8:45. Camera off, please.